Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ari, and today we're going to have some more stories about our toxic life. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video, if you enjoy it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now without further ado, let's go. Today's first story. In this story, Opie encouraged his wife to pursue her artistic passion through pottery classes. However, suspicions arose when she exhibited secretive behavior, prompting him to discover intimate emails with a mysterious Professor P. Confrontation revealed her affair with the older professor, leading to a painful breakup. The husband, prioritizing self-respect, refused reconciliation despite her remorse. Her sister intervened, advising self-reflection. The husband, choosing personal growth, now focuses on his hobbies, especially music, determined to move forward with newfound independence. Now let's get into the story. My wife, 26, and I, 30, were together for 6 years before she decided to start taking a pottery class. She'd always been really artistic, but due to life's harsh circumstances, she never got the chance to pursue or develop this side of her. We were finally at a place financially where she could do it. I was so happy for her. My hobby consisted of playing my keyboard and writing almost songs. She started bringing home little pottery objects she made, and at first, it was great for our relationship. Then she started behaving differently. She started quickly closing browsers whenever I came close to the computer screen. She was also really protective of her flip phone and occasionally took longer to get home from her pottery class. I waited until she was asleep one night before I searched her computer history. There was nothing odd except for an email she kept logging into that I didn't recognize. I installed a keylogger onto the computer and found out the password to the email account, along with all the emails she kept in the drafts folder. They were actually back and forth conversations with someone else that was logging into the account. She probably thought she was being clever by never pressing send. All the emails were signed Professor P, and they mentioned the pottery class a few times. I printed out all the emails between them and found the really intimate ones. According to their conversation, they actually had intimate on the professor's desk in the classroom. Whether it was just a fantasy or it really happened, I knew for sure my wife was at the very least having an emotional affair, possibly with the professor of her pottery class. I was furious. I couldn't even make myself a microwavable meal without shaking and talking out loud to myself. After I ate it angrily, I printed out all their emails. I had the dates and times each draft was saved. Some of the messages even mentioned times they spent together behind my back and plans to call each other. I was appalled. I encouraged my wife to take this class because I loved her and wanted her to be happy. Because of my caring nature, she found another man to sleep with. It hurt so bad and felt completely unfair. As soon as she got home, I couldn't control myself. I blew up on her. I asked her about emails in a draft folder on her computer, and she went paddle. She tried to say those were old messages from when she was in college, but I told her I had proof they weren't old. She didn't move a muscle until I came back with the printed pages. I slapped them down on the table and asked her what the hell was wrong with her. She didn't say anything. I asked her who Professor P was and she remained silent. She looked extremely guilty, so her silence was not reassuring. I told her it was over. She was caught, so she might as well tell me all about it. She started crying and pleading with me to have mercy on her and our relationship if she came clean about it. I said I would because I would have said anything at this point to hear the truth come out of her. She said it was her professor from the pottery class. I asked how old he was and she said 42. So that meant he was 18 years older than her. I freaked out. I asked her if they had intimate like their emails said they did, and she said no at first, saying it was just something he wanted to happen, but I could tell she wasn't being honest. I'd been with her for more than 6 years, so I knew what her face looked like when she was lying. I asked her again and told her she might as well get it out now so we could move on properly. She admitted to it. Apparently, they had intimate lots of times before and after class. He was married and hated his wife at this point. but couldn't leave her because she ruined his career in life with a child support order. She said she felt bad for him, and no one deserved to be forced to live a life without love. I told her we were done. I said she was not the only fish in the sea for this guy, and if he was going to cheat on his wife, it didn't have to be with her. I thought we were happily married with a wonderful future ahead of us. She proved me wrong. She was sobbing with a super red face and tears streaming down her face as she told me she was happily married. She said she made the biggest mistake of her life and wouldn't be able to live with herself if I didn't stay with her. I told her that was her problem now. I had been a good husband to her, looking out for her and making sure she was happy, and it wasn't my fault she committed adultery. I said I wouldn't be made into a fool's puppet. I had to remain in control of my life, and if I stayed with her for this, I wouldn't be able to stand on my own. 2 feet, whether she admitted it or not, she wouldn't look at me the same. I wouldn't be as much of a man to her because I let her sleep with another man. She texted her sister to come over and try to talk to me. But once I told her everything that happened and showed her the printed evidence, she couldn't defend herself. She told her she needed to start packing and come stay with her for a while. My wife let out a wail. Defeat like this was the end of her life. I asked her sister to tell her that this wasn't the end, just a new beginning. She had to learn from this mistake, not bury it deep or try to cover it up with a new relationship. She had to look herself in the mirror and ask her heart why she did it. Her sister did pass along these messages. And as far as I know, she's still single and working on herself. She calls me all the time, but I don't answer. I'm glad she's working on herself, but it isn't for me. I've started dedicating more time to myself and hobbies I never took the time to develop before. I have full songs written now, so I'll be able to woo my next girlfriend without a problem. Today's second story. In this story, Opie enjoyed a seemingly perfect relationship until he took her to a concert featuring her favorite artist, AP. Despite his awareness of her infatuation with AP, he is shocked when the artist shows interest in her during the concert. The girlfriend ultimately chooses AP over her, leading to their breakup. Later, she reveals a disturbing encounter with AP involving drugs and a legal document barring her from discussing the intimate experience. He informs her parents, leading to her eviction, and she later discovers she is pregnant, complicating her already chaotic life. Now let's get into the story. My girlfriend 23 and I 24 had been together for 3 years. We got along splendidly and our life was just fun. We were able to travel and do fun things because we worked and had money left over after bills. It probably helped that we got a discount on rent from my uncle, our landlord. For my girlfriend's 23rd birthday, I decided to take her to an artist's concert. For this story, I'm going to call him AP. She was always in love with AP from the first time she heard his music. She always struggled with self-confidence issues, but when she heard his songs, she opened up and became the super sexy woman I knew she was. I tried not to be jealous. I knew the chances of her getting together with him were slim to none, and she loved me. That still didn't change the fact that she wrote about him in her journal and would leave me in the midst of an argument to listen to him. I knew I was replaced by AP whenever she felt it was necessary, but I didn't think it was any different than how I found peace in the music I loved. On the way to the concert, my girlfriend would not contain herself. She was dressed super hot, and it seemed like her personal goal to grab AP's attention no matter what it took. She took selfies with me, but I could tell I was not important at this time. When he was introduced on stage, a tear came down her face. We were as close as anyone could get, right in front of the walkway where he'd come out to sing and be close to his fans. When he saw my girlfriend, he couldn't stop looking. He was good at sharing his attention and staying focused, but as he sang, he kept looking back at her and touching her hand. She was in heaven of the last songs. He held her hand again and must have given some kind of signal to someone that this was the girl he wanted. Not even 4 seconds later, he was singing somewhere else while she was given a backstage pass by security. Obviously, I could not believe this was not happening. I grabbed her hand and tried to leave, but she refused to come with me. She said this was the most exciting thing to ever happen to her, and she wasn't going to turn him down. My mouth was gaping. I asked her if she was leaving me for him because I knew if she was going back there alone, she was going to have intimate with him. She said I didn't have to be like that, but I told her I wasn't playing games. If she slept with him, I wasn't going to forgive her. As couples talk about, she easily picked him and turned back to watch the rest of the show. I stood there like a mourn as people left for the parking lot. She was called back after a few minutes and didn't even turn to say goodbye. I then left the venue without her and made the 2-hour trip home. She called me 1 week later, sobbing out of curiosity. I listened to her story, but I told her we were done and there was no way she was getting a second chance for me. She said she was taken to AP's hotel room. They hung out for a long time, drank, and did drugs before they had intimate. She was given a paper to sign that legally obligated her to never speak of this encounter with anyone, not even if there were undesirable consequences from this decision. Of course, he'd have to have some legal protection if he was going to go around stealing people's significant others in a dream come true. One night stand, I basically laughed at my ex. I told her she made her choice. She cried harder and continued the story that she got to have a luxurious breakfast the next morning before AP's handlers returned her to her parents' house. She didn't want to tell them our house because she knew I was mad. Her parents quizzed her about what was going on and why she had locked herself in her old bedroom for a few days. She couldn't bring herself to tell them she cheated on me with a celebrity and was going to be alone. Now, upon hearing that, I hung up on her and called her parents. I could hear her yelling in the background as I told them what happened. They kicked her out and called her several names. She was wailing as she packed her bags and complained about having nowhere to go. She was pretty much homeless now. They told her she should have thought about that before spreading her legs. For someone who didn't care about her, it was a sweet piece of revenge for me to hear that. Then things got even worse for her. She found out she was pregnant. As far as I know, she managed to find some sucker to live with and help raise the offspring. But the baby might have been put up for adoption. So that's how my ex-girlfriend completely screwed up her own life by having a one-night stand with someone she fantasized about. She never even wanted to have kids. But then, because of her stupid self, she had a child by someone that she never saw again.